of them argue for borrowing, some do not argue, okay? So these are the typical situations in business where things are not so clear as in the textbook problems. Textbook problems ask you to do this, to do that, and the data is given, no complication is given, right? And therefore, it's very easy to make calculations if you remember your concepts and formula. In real practice, it's not necessary that you remember basic ideas, but exact formula you don't need. What you can do is that you can just refer to the book and use that. That's why actually the examination which we were holding in IIM Ahmedabad and which I implemented in this institute also, we give cases in the examination and open book. You can open your book, you can find out whatever you want to find out, the relevant information. And what is given is a case where there are a lot of information. So important thing is that out of that information, which is contradictory, you have to come out and take a decision. So that is the purpose of case method generally. Now in this case also, although it seems a very simple exercise, but then the directors are not arguing. And they can't be stupid people. They are, because in the board director, generally they are highly competent people. In India, for example, under governing governance, your board should consist 1/3 of independent directors. They can be professors, they can be bureaucrats, they can be from other industries also. So you have that combination of directors who may be nominated by chairman, but then a lot of outside directors are there, okay? And they have to be approved in the shareholders meeting. So when they are making arguments, which means that you have to think that seriously. Now, so we will go through this exercise, but what I would, now for example, this whiteboard, if I share with you whiteboard, let me try if I have that whiteboard. Yes, my Microsoft whiteboard is here. You see that I got even the case in the whiteboard. Now I think you should know about all these. Are you able to see the whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
With the,
Yes, sir, we can see, sir.
Yeah.
so these, let's say your toolbars, you can put them on the left, you can put them on the right, you can put them on the bottom. Now, when you go to here, it will tell you, now if you say tool location, where do you want your tools to be located? Left hand side or down or on the right hand side, all right? So you click on and accordingly you take a decision, all right? Now, when you click on this plus sign here, now you can bring your PDF file, you can bring your Word document, and you can bring your PowerPoint. So if you have PowerPoint, you can bring it here, your Word document you can bring, and PDF. Actually, you can, if two persons are working simultaneously or three persons are working simultaneously, let's say you are working in a group and you are in different locations. And then you're saying, let's write. Let's say sometimes faculty members, they write joint papers and they say, let's write it together. So what do you do there? So what you have been doing is you say, okay, you start. And then let's say I start and write few sentences and you say, no, let me change it. And so you can collaborate. So how do you collaborate? Here, this sign on the right-hand side where there is a person's plus. So actually, if you click it, you can invite people here. You can invite people here, and by creating the instructions are given there. And then three of you can work simultaneously. If the students are working in groups and sitting different places, even in the college, let's say, one is sitting in library and somebody sitting in the park and another one sitting in the classroom, they can still collaborate. They can discuss, okay? So that is, now when you import, let me show you if I import some other document and let's say, let me import some other PDF from my browser, let's say, let me bring this Marriott cost of capital, let's say this one here. Now, these are this is the case, okay, which we had discussed. Now, hit what you say, insert all pages or insert selected. If you want to bring only one, you can bring one. If you want to bring all of them, then you say insert all pages. Now, when you do that, actually, what happens is that these pages may be moving differently. They may not be together at one place. Actually, when you say insert all, they will appear. They will appear up and down. Actually, you can go on moving them. See? So if I move up, so these, yes, okay. Actually, this is such a big page, one single page, that you can write hundreds of things here. You see, you can go move anywhere. Now, when I am moving, they are moving together. Actually, when you do it, unless you do something, it will not move. What you have to do is, they will be arranged this way automatically, of course, when you bring them. But then you just click right hand side. No, sorry, it's already logged actually. So let me show you another one. Let me create another file and then I will show you. So now I bring that particular document. So it's a PDF document that I should know it's a PDF document. And now I say insert all. So it has come in my whiteboard. Now they are automatically logged, okay? And you can move them. No, they are not automatically logged perhaps because, yeah, they move. Because earlier that was not possible with these. So they are automatically logged. Otherwise, what you have to do is you can log also differently. Yeah, they are not automatically because when I clicked on this, so this goes away from this particular page. So they are not in the same sequence. All right. Now, so let me just again put it back here. And if I put here in between, then they will be logged. But if you click on any one of them, it will move differently. It will not move along with all the pages. If you want them to move together, then you just click here and lock it. This is lock. It's written lock to background. You lock it here. You can lock this one also. You see, like that. So when you move this page, all will move together. Okay, locking. So that's what you should do. If you have multiple pages, naturally in the case you have multiple pages. So when you are discussing in the class with the teacher online, even if teacher is not showing you whiteboard, you can open your whiteboard. You can start writing what teacher is saying and then you can react. Similarly, you can keep your case there and you can refer to the case. It's not that you have to keep it separately somewhere and then do it. All right. So this is quite useful that way. This is now it's not opening. All right, anyway, I'll bring something different. Is there a problem with my internet? Okay, so that's what I wanted to show to you, that whiteboard has uses even in online discussions, and you can do it. Even as a teacher, if you are collaborating with your colleagues and you are not in the same location, same place, or even if you are sitting same place, but you may have different laptops with you on the same table and you are working together. Okay. Now what I want you is briefly, one or two of you can, one question which I would like to ask everyone and you can answer it. How many of you are in favor of borrowing? Anybody who says yes, this company should borrow 200 million rupees, how many of you say? You can say yes, or you can raise your hands actually. You can raise your hands. You know that there is a provision here. Hemanta, you want to say something?
Yeah, yes, I agree to borrow, man.
Okay. It's only on yes and no.
Yes.
Any other person? Any other person? Mr. Atula? Atul? Mr. Atula, what do you think? Imendra, would you like to borrow or not? Okay, Mr. Tyagiraj, what do you say? Yes? You say yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Roshan, Mr. Roshan. Roshan Ajwad, what do you say? Yes and no?
Yes, sir. We should borrow.
And then Mr. Okay, Amen. All right. Then Mr. Danish Demal. Danisha or Danish, whatever you call. Danisha.
Yes, sir, we should borrow.
Okay, you should borrow. Very good. Rajendran? Rajendran, what do you think?
He says yes.
He says yes. Okay.
Vijay Kumaran, yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, we have to borrow.
Okay, good. Then Mr. Telak. Telak?
Mr. Tila, can you hear?
So
Is he there?
microphone seems a little bit an issue of him,
Okay.
sir.
Asita?
Yes, can be borrowed. Yes.
Anybody who says that they should not borrow? Anyone? No one. Everyone says yes. Parthaman says yes. Rajendran says yes. Teraj says yes. Okay. Fiona
No.
Dyer says. Who says no? KGA.
So Uday
Officer
Uday
K.
Kumar.
Okay. Uday Kumar, you say no. At least there is one no. They should not borrow. All right. Okay, but then the question which would arise is that why some of the directors, why they are opposing? That is the question. Of course, they are giving their reasons. Now they are giving reasons, but these reasons have to be verified. In the class, when you discuss and when you say, then you pick up one of the students who is saying yes, and you say, all right, why do you say yes? And how would you back up your answer? Not by the kind of answers which directors have given in the case or discussed in the case, but you have to elaborate. Now, what are the reasons which are given in favor of borrowing here? What are the reasons given? Or what
Tax
are your
benefit.
reasons?
Tax benefit.
Tax benefits. Okay, that will always be the case.
Yes.
So therefore, your prescription is that always companies should borrow.
Sir,
All right. Okay. Some other person. Why some of you say that they should borrow?
At the moment, they have only equity capital. Their capital structure is mainly on equity capital. So I think borrowing is okay. So then it will include both the equity capital and debt capital.
No, when you say borrowing is okay, what does that mean?
I mean the risk at the moment, the capital is zero.
Shall we say that because their equity capital is their total equity or shareholder funds are 639 million, all right?
Yeah.
In exhibit 4, 639.4, and what they are borrowing is 200 million, isn't it? So perhaps you can argue that debt equity ratio is of approximately 1:3.
1/3.
3,
Yeah.
1/3. Little, okay, 1/3, little over than 1/3, all right? So are you making that argument? Because you have to give these kinds of logical from the numbers which you have to give. When you say that it's all right means what? What all right? So then you can say that the debt equity ratio is 1:3, which means if I say, let's say approximately total amount will be 839, 200 divided by 839, that will be 25%, little less than 25% is their debt ratio, total debt to total capital ratio, which is quite low. But how do you say it's low? When the student
No,
says it's low, so then I will ask as a teacher, where should a company stop? 25% or 90% or 50% or 30%? What do you mean by low? Is 25% low? You are going beyond textbook now. You are asking those kinds of questions means whatever is given in the textbook, whatever you have learned cannot be taken for granted. So that will be my next question, that where should they stop? Is it 25%? Do you think 25% is low? What about 33%? What about 40%? And then you say, now perhaps it's increasing. Maybe they shouldn't borrow. Maybe what? Why maybe? Then you say they should not borrow. I said, but what happens in 40%? Will company fall? How do you make the judgments that 25% is a good ratio and 40% is not a good ratio? How do you make the judgments?
So what about looking at the industry benchmarks? Similar companies, normal the benchmark, the capital structure of similar companies.
Okay, you can see that, but then we don't have that data here.
Yeah.
So we find the optimal capital structure.
What is the optimum capital structure?
Minimum cost situation.
Yeah, that is what textbooks say. In practice, you don't have those kinds of things. Anyway, so what I would like you is, which means that the directors in the meeting, they may be discussing much more. Perhaps they may be giving a lot of other reasons. This case has been a little bit summarized that way. And they may be worried about certain things. Now, therefore, you have to look at what are total facts. Let's say you have been given 4 exhibits. There is past data about sales, etc. Then there are projections that if they don't go for the project, what can happen to their sales. Then you have projections with expansion, all right? Sales become quite high. And then you have profitability calculations. You have the borrowings, and in the borrowings, then the terms and conditions are given, isn't it? Now you have to relate everything. When you are saying they should borrow, how confident you are. And are you prepared to answer any question which the, let's say in this case, instructor is raising with you, assuming you are the students. Or when you are a teacher, you have to go with everything. Your all kinds of calculation student, you should ask your student, or if there are intelligent students, they will ask you certain kinds of questions. I think, have you made any calculations? Any calculations? Did you think of making any calculation? Did you make any calculation?
I did calculations, earning per share. I calculated in the both equity and the borrowing, and this is actually was on the capital incentive project. So then the highly leveraged company, so the operating leverage is high. So because of that, I done the sensitive analysis for changing the sales and see how it is opening, and the earning per share how change it. So taking all those things into account, and the
15:30.
fact, so I decided to borrow money to this project.
Oh, good. Actually, the minimum calculations in any decision about capital structure, you have to, when they are saying risk, what does that mean and what are the calculations for risk? What kinds of risks are there? Okay, that is one question, right? What can go wrong? What can go wrong? And how do you understand what can go wrong? Now, so one calculation therefore, so there are, now similarly, when I was arguing with one of you, I am saying is 20% good or bad? That's a judgment actually, isn't it? That's your judgment. Now, in case of certain companies, there may be no debt and they become bankrupt. There are many companies and they are in developed countries as well as developing countries, right? So they are in all situations. There have been interesting case studies in different countries, of course. There have been Indian cases. I have given some examples in my book also. And those companies which have suffered a lot because they borrowed, all right? Though they were very profitable. They were profitable. Would you remain profitable? Because you are doing today. And you have to anticipate to be as profitable as today. That is, it's not the past gives you an idea. Past gives you an idea that what can go wrong, at least to a great extent. So I think somebody's dog is also participating.
Participant, please mute your mic. Nilangi?
So if you, but Nilangi, of course, she has muted, her mic was muted.
No, no, it's okay.
Okay. So now let's make, so what are, first you should know that in any debt in decision, debt ratio is important, which one of you gave, all right? Then you have what we call as, we have one more, you can go. It's not the amount, it's not the percentage of debt. Can you service your debt? Can you service your debt? So debt service ratio is another ratio, all right? When you look at the terms and conditions, do you find that 51% in any case government will have to buy, otherwise, but bonds they don't. It's not necessary that they buy 51%. Equity they will have to buy if they want to retain the control, all right? So, but there are two types of borrowers are there, lenders, institutional, and they may ask for money to be returned in the last 3 installments, and individuals where they're saying every year 20 million will have to be returned. So you are not only paying interest, you're repaying. So do you have cash, enough profits generated every year for next 10 years to meet these requirements? So debt service ratio is one time, of course, but then you can do longer calculation of 10 years, making certain assumptions. Now, if sales fall, etc. So what I would like you, then now we will divide you into groups. Now you look at exhibit 1 and you look at sales pattern in the past from 2002 to 2011, that what is happening each year, you take out the growth rate, all right, sales growth. Calculate your dividend payout ratio, how much dividend they are paying, for example. That will give you an idea what is going to the shareholders. Because these are the arguments, no? And then you calculate that your sales are there. PBIT is there, 230. Sales is some 30, 42, 3,000 something. And you have PBIT, okay? Then you have fixed costs, 55%, variable cost 45%. So on that basis, you can calculate the break-even sales. Then look back to your historical experience of sales growth. You can conclude whether what can happen, what can be the worst possible thing. Also calculate, as Hemanta has done, the operating leverage and financial leverage. What is finance? You know that all. I think once you are equipped with all these calculations, then you can answer all. So I would like you to get into, now Pereira will divide you into uh, groups, breakout rooms, as we call in Zoom. He will create 5 each perhaps. There are 28 now, minus some others. If you means I will be not there in any group. Or so let's have 25 minutes, because calculations, you have to do your calculations on Excel to do it faster. And then I will pick up some group, appoint a, right?
Okay, sir. Okay, I'll break out 5 members.
We will make presentation.
Yeah.
So you do that and divide them. So what are the instructions? Instructions are use the information given in the case, that is the numbers and exhibits, and calculate earnings per share, break-even PBIT, where the EPS would be the same for both cases, operating leverage, financial leverage. Then we can have good discussions. Okay. So it is in my watch, it's around 15:35. So you add 25 minutes, which means 4 o'clock we shall be back. I shall be back. You will be there, but in groups.
Okay. So then I
Okay.
create the group.
Yeah, you please do that all.
Okay.
Thank you.
So how are you?
Okay.
Yes, they are
I'm
working
good.
hard. They are working hard. I went to their rooms and see whether they are discussing. Yes, everyone is discussing together.
Let them discuss. Give them some more minutes.
So you want to go to the classes? I'll allocate you the host.
Okay.
Okay. And you allocate me as a co-host, right? You can just go to the class and see whether they are working.
So maybe I go.
You allocate me as a co-host.
How do I do that?
What
How
you
do
can
I do that?
is you go to my place and click move.
My place. Where is my place?
No, go to my name under the participant list.
Participant list, sir.
Participant list.
Sir, please.
Okay. Under
Participant list.
participants.
On the right side, you can see more. Click more.
Okay.
Then you can see.
And then make host.
Co-host. Your host and co-host. Okay,
We
sir.
have done,
Okay. Okay. Now you
Done
can
that.
go to the breakout class. Sir. You just click the breakout class. You can go to the each class and listen to them.
What they are doing.
Now you have that right, sir. You just click the breakout, then it elaborates.
Yes, sir.
Could you make some calculations? What are your conclusions? From the calculations, what do you find? Anybody having calculated break-even sales?
Yes. 3,599 million.
Okay. And it's what percentage of expected total sales?
It's totally 4 million 42 is 89%.
Okay. How much PBIT did you take?
3,599 is the break-even sales. 4,042,000 is the total sales was 4,032,000. So out of that, the break-even sales 3,599.
How much was PBIT? How much PBIT did you take?
So shall I share
Yeah, you can share.
calculation?
You can share.
Hemanta, you haven't shared with your screen. Share.
How I deduce in this?
Yes,
Say,
yes,
is
yes.
for 32, then the profit before interest tax 250 I deducted to the total cost. Then I'll calculate the fixed because this project. So after that, that's a fixed cost 55%, variable was 45%. Out of that, contribution was calculated. Out of then, I calculated break-even sales.
Okay. So your break-even sales are you took 250, not 230.
250 I get it because it's a given 250.
In exhibit 2, in exhibit 2, how much is given?
In this report given 250, right?
Okay, all right.
250. Profit before interest and tax.
250.
Okay, no problem. So even if you, okay, basically it's all right. Now, so if you take that, then you say 89%, which means that you have safety of margin about 11%.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yes.
Which means that if your sales decline by 11%, you will have 0 PBI, isn't it?
Yes.
That is what it means, isn't it? Because break-even point is where your profit is 0. So you have 11% margin.
Safety.
Now you have 11, and anybody who calculated the change in sales from 1 year to another year?
Could you please mute your mic, except Professor Pandey and Hemanta? Could you please?
Okay. Anybody who has calculated sales growth from 2002 to 2011?
Sales growth calculated 7.63 for the 2011 up to 2011, 2010 to 2011 again 11% sales growth there. Average I taken for the up to 2010.
Okay.
Arithmetic average.
Now, so how many times sales growth was negative?
Negative was sales growth was negative only
2 times.
2 times. Yeah.
2 times, no?
Yeah.
So what was that range? It declined by what percentage?
The first one is 5%, and another one is a 2009.
Yeah.
That is 21%.
Yeah, around maybe 17% or so.
Yeah.
Because the difference will be, say, 5,000 divided by 29. You see? Because it will be, or 6,000 divided by 29 minus 1. Well, what you do is to calculate your growth, what you do is that in 2009, it is 2024-33, and then it's a minus 2949 divided by 2949. It is from the previous year where you are calculating the growth, isn't it? So this will come, say if you are saying 21%, okay, anyway, it comes, I think 17 point something. So that is the decline, all right?
Yeah.
And as per your break-even point, if the decline is at least 11%, PBIT would be 0.
Yes.
So you understand the impact of the
sales
in sales. If the sales change, the entire profitability becomes unprofitable. Your project becomes means the impact of your project on the company's performance becomes unprofitable. even if the overall sales decline, right? Even project may be doing well, but if the overall sales of the company decline, they will not be able to pay interest. All right.
Yes.
So the break-even point is very, very high. Very, very high. That is one point. And then how much is the operating this thing? Operating leverage?
Operating leverage is 1.22 or degree of operating leverage 9.32. Well, I taken the operating leverage 1.22. I just say the 5% change of sales are taken and consider that degree of operating leverage.
No, how much is financial leverage? Operating leverage is much higher than financial leverage.
Financial leverage was taken the equity finance taking the considering the new project, so 0.362 and debt financing 0.787.
Well, financial leverage comes because of debt finance, of course. Otherwise, there is only operating leverage.
Yeah, because I taken the current that is the short-term debt also consider there. That's what happened.
I think there is some problem, maybe some problem with your calculations. Recalculate. And what is operating leverage? Operating leverage is that the change in PVIT because of change in sales.
Yes, that was taken. I taken.
So if you say that your sales are, whatever they are, projected sales are how much? 4,000?
4,042. 4,032.
32.
And 32. And then if they change by 5, let's say by 5%, increase or decrease, you can do only one calculation, either increase or decrease. If you say decrease by 5%, right? So your sales decrease by 5%. What is the change in PVIT?
46%.
And what is the change in PBIT is 46%.
Yeah. Because
So,
200, because I taken the 250, so then 133, that is a 46%.
okay. But for then,
to 9.32.
Okay, let me, you can stop share and let me share, because I have two versions of this case. I don't know which version I will show you. So you can stop sharing.
Yeah, I stop it.
Okay. This will stop others.
Hemanta, stop your sharing. You are
Yeah,
still sharing.
I stop now.
No, no. No.
No.
Sharing your screen. Stop.
Yeah.
You can
It is
stop it.
still there. Stop means you have to go to your screen.
Okay, that will be fine.
Now fine. Now it's okay.
Okay.
Now, okay, one calculation is you can calculate this growth in sales, all right? And then you find that here, if these numbers are the same as your numbers, this will be, so your sales can go down by even 18%, 17 to 18%. And when we calculate break-even point, then break-even point, as Hemanta explained to you, is 89.3%, which means your margin of safety is 100% minus 89%, which is about 11%. So if this sales go down by 11%, you will have PBIT will become zero actually. Your PBIT will become zero, right? Then similarly, when you make your change in PBIT, let's say that sales, if I increase the font just to show to you, or maybe even 16. So if you see the font, what is happening here is, these are your original sales, all right? And I have decreased them. Either way, you can do one calculation, it will be consistent. So you have 38, it changes. So as Hemanta was saying that, but that the change in sales were 5% minus and change in PBIT was 46 or 47%. So as he was saying, your operating leverage is 9, which means if sales increases by 1, then your PBIT increases by 9 times. If your sales decline by 1%, your PBIT will decline by 9%. So 9 times, all right? But my financial leverage calculations are, of course, different, okay? And they are here. Okay, sorry, I have to bring them down. Yes. So here I find financial leverage is 1.24. You can calculate your own again. So it is what? It is change in your EPS. I have taken only 1.8 billion as the shares. If I change shares at the rate of IPO price, which is 50% more, then the number of shares will be less. Okay. But I think your financial leverage will not change. So here you have 1.24. What does this mean? That if PBIT changes by 1, earnings per share changes by 1.24. It's a small amount. So it's almost 1% change in sales leading to around 1%, slightly more than 1% change in the EPS. So your financial leverage is not significant. That is even supported by your debt equity ratio, which is so low. If you borrow, your total capital will become more than 800 million, while, so it will be, but then your operating leverage is quite high. It's very sensitive to changes in sales. Okay. Now, if say in the class, if you stop at that, then you can say that the risk of this company, which is the business risk or the operating risk means sales is high. It's 9 times. But no, we have to look at this case discussion in terms of the information which is given to us. All right. And then what is the information which is given to us? Okay. Now, if I start asking you these qualitative questions, what is the product of this company? What kind of business they are in? What is their business? What product do they sell?
Manufacturing industrial equipments and the plants for the paper industry and the pharmaceutical industries equipment and the cement and all
Okay.
industry.
Okay, very good. So it's a what? Capital intensive. Okay. And where from they get the demand? They get demand from other industries. So in economics, you talk about what? Derived demand. There is a derived demand. And when you talk about cement and those kinds of industry, they are very highly sensitive to the changes in economic conditions. So this company is vulnerable. That is why you find those sales are increasing over the years, but they are fluctuating. Okay, you can even calculate standard deviation, average sales and standard deviation. You will find standard deviation could be quite high. market. So that's why the demand has got a chain. It's a chain. So it's a derived demand. Prices are also regulated, some of the products, not all, but they are regulated by government. So cost may increase, price may not increase. Input costs are high. You see, this information is, and then there are power cuts. In those days in India, we used to have power cuts. Now, this is the kind of information which describes this company, its products. Okay. Then if I ask about what is the financial capabilities of this company, what would you say? What would you say? Is it a good company financially? From shareholders' point of view, which is government now, right now?
Yes.
So how would you support that?
Because when I look at this company, because at the moment the company's the liquidity position is okay, and secondly there's a future demand for this product, and then those 2 years was sales has dropped according to the case information. So the growth they are expecting the growing products in the market. So then that is why selling this company. So the financially have a strength, because the profitability, when you look at it, even the operating leverage, if you increase the sales by 5%, then you get the high earning before interest and tax will come. So they expecting the growth industry. So then I think it's a better financial position in this company.
Yeah. Hemanta, besides you, is there anybody else who can give me some idea?
Better get idea from the other groups too.
All right. So actually, that's what I'm saying. In case method, you have to look at several aspects. So I said, and why, how we are going to relate, that is important. But first we need to discuss what is the nature of the product. So from product, what idea do you get? From the product, when we say business risk or operating risk, financial leverage is an indication of the risk also. It means PBIT will fluctuate whenever sales fluctuate. That is what it means. So fluctuation, more the fluctuations, more is the risk. All right. It can be upwards, it can be downward, but then it's a risk because you can't anticipate. And company is very capital intensive. When the companies are capital intensive, their costs, fixed costs will be high. Derived demand, you profit margin, gross profit margin, they have been increasing. If you calculate your net profit or profit after tax divided by your net worth 2011, it's 17.3%. So these ratios have to be calculated. You see, you have to think. So it's a profitable company growing, but there is a risk also because sales are fluctuating. All right. Then dividend is about 35%. Again, you should have calculated payout ratio. So it's not, and they are maintaining that kind of a dividend. They're conservatively fine, which means they have a strength. They don't have any debt so far. Not only that, they maintain good relation with the bank, which has given them standing bank credit line. All right. So what are the bad things? If you look at the balance sheet, debtors are high, but creditors are also high. They are compensating each other. And their strength is profitable, growing, large amount of reserve and surplus, all right? conservative financial policy, and there is a backup in case there is a need for funds. There is a bank guarantee up to 50 million at least. Now, what kind of ownership and control this company has? Okay. Now, actually, when you do all this, so you can get these kinds of things. So let me, instead of now going in great detail, you know the direction in which you must always go. So if I summarize that all for you, okay. No, not this one. Where is my, I want to share. Yeah. Okay. So for example, if I was teaching and writing on the whiteboard, I will ask questions and write these points: product market conditions, financial capabilities, high fixed cost, large amount of reserves. So I will divide them into two parts: the favorable, the unfavorable. Then ownership. It's a government owned. Government policies can change frequently, and therefore they have to go to the capital market. They have no experience of IPO, equity, etc., etc. And these are the conditions for debt issue. Okay, interest is tax exempt, of course, so their cost is less effective. And this is the requirement of the funds. They require 200 million. Tax rate is, of course, 34%. All right. So this is what you are calculating. And then debt option, why it should be there, why it should not. So you have to devote at least 10-15 minutes on this discussion, and 15 to 20 minutes on the discussion of product market, financial capability, ownership, fund requirement, etc. Now, if you have calculations and this discussion, you can summarize it. You see, you say that, look, our calculations are showing that the operating leverage it is supported by the qualitative assessment. Okay, because it's a capital intensive, derived demand, recessionary conditions, regulated prices, high input cost, and power cuts. So these problems will magnify this company's okay. And similarly, then in case of financial, you will talk about these things, okay? And you say some are favorable, some are unfavorable. Overall, this company is doing quite well. Then ownership. Now, there was a point about many things while the directors were discussing. Okay, what were they saying? Control dilution in equity. Control dilution can be in EPS. It can be ownership dilution, because now government is 100% owner. Tomorrow, if you issue shares, government may not have money to subscribe. But they can subscribe only 51%, 49% outsiders. Their ownership has been diluted. Are they prepared to do that? Perhaps that's why they may be encouraging company to borrow. You see? Now, after all that discussion, you see, you should therefore summarize that what does business risk mean? What does financial risk mean? It is not only calculation of operating leverage and financial leverage. It is in practice, even looking at the product, market conditions, competitors. We don't have competitors here. Competitors, you see, we have to look at all of them. The capital market conditions, because they were saying they don't have an experience of going to capital market. So they may not go for IPO, they may go for borrowing, you see. But borrowing can create a problem because of high business risk. They may not be able to service it. And if you have time, or if you devote 2 sessions for this case, you can make long calculations, assuming sales will continually growing at, let's say, 5%, 10%, then how profits will behave, and then how interest rates and repayment of debt will take place, then would they have enough cash flow or not, and then you change the sales From 10%, if you make it 5%, what happens? Okay. So this company, if thinks about the worst situation, it should not borrow. But do companies think like this? Do they always think of the worst? This company, even if sales are down, they will not be down every year. They will be down in few of the years, not every year. Because last 10, 11 years, it is down by 2 times. Of course, one time it's more than 17%. So that may happen. Then you anticipate what can happen worst, and are you prepared to control that? If the answer is yes, borrow. If the answer is no, you can become bankrupt, don't borrow. What should company do? Answer is we don't know. Okay, on that moment, it is the final attitude of the company directors when finance person, the financial manager, controller, director, whatever you call him, if he makes all these facts clear to board members and you say, now you take a decision. Okay, I think it will help them. And they will also realize, yes, liquidity could be a problem, risk could be there, but still they even have the support of bank. In a particular year, if they are not able to earn enough profit, they can still repay by borrowing from the bank. Okay, they can pay interest and they can borrow. But if it's highly fluctuating, every year it's fluctuating, then you have a problem. Fluctuating and not growing at a good rate. At a low rate, but then fluctuating. Those companies, they don't borrow actually. But generally these days, companies, if they have internal funds, they will not borrow. Okay. So, well, there is some noise here. Let me say my neighbors may be doing something. Okay, so I got it stopped. So when you are working from home, I'm sitting in my drawing room. I live in a flat, and then I have 2 more neighbors here. And my window of my drawing room and their window, it opens on the same direction, same side. So unless I go to my study room, close everything, but I thought I will sit in a big drawing room rather than a small study room. Okay, so you understand what case means. My only worry is that would your students be able to speak when you ask them questions? So here what you can do, if you have reluctant students, give them detailed questions before coming to the class. And you tell them, I want you to calculate sales growth from 2002 to 2011. Please calculate sales growth. Please calculate dividend payout ratio. Please calculate profit margins. And then you tell them that now what you do is, because data is given about fixed cost and variable cost, please take sales, projected sales of 4,032 and calculate the break-even point. Okay. Then you ask them that another question which you can ask them is that now you change your sales by first by 5%, then by 12%. Now 12% will make it negative because your break-even point is only 11%, means the safety is only 11% or maybe 15%. You say, okay, now you recalculate everything, assuming sales first change by 5%, then they change by 10% plus minus and change by 15%. At 10%, the PBIT will be very, very small and they will not be able to meet the interest expenses. Okay. Then ask them to, which we didn't do, that what is that EBIT or PBIT break even where EPS would be same under equity and debt. If they are, and in the previous sessions, general session, you would have discussed operating and financial leverage calculations. Then you say that after making these calculations, you think about the company, its product, its financial capabilities. Just give that in writing to them before coming to the class. So once they have the calculations, if they make mistakes, take just 5-10 minutes to show them what will be the correct answers. And you say, now let's discuss. So depending on the students, you design your strategy to teach a class. Is it okay now? That's what I would, this is how I would do it. You can change slightly. You don't need to have the same method, but I think basically you have to cover everything which is given in it. And theoretical point, actually in many books, including my book, you will find that there is a frict analysis. Okay, there is a what they call frict. So this frict includes your FRICT. Okay, now what does that mean? So all those things which you say, control, C is there, I, interest rate is there. Then you have the P is profitability, of course, frict. Then you have R is your risk, frict. I is your income. C is control, right? And T is the timing. So first is your F, then you have R, then so risk, income. So income is either ROE or EPS. Okay. Then you have so you have profitability, you have risk. Risk is operating risk and financial risk. And control is, now in this case, from government's point of view, the existing shareholders' point of view. Are they worried or not if you borrow? Okay. So that depends on the concentration of ownership in the hands of whatever. Now, most of the developing countries, the founders or the promoters, they have large equity in their hands. Okay, so their stake is the highest. Then there is the problem of the minority shareholders. So you can even then bring through the discussions, that frict analysis. Okay. So that's what I thought I would do it. So again and again, I'm saying, understand your students and design, but develop the habit in them that they speak out. Don't simply make a presentation and think that you have done it. You force them to do the calculations, to think through, and then help them to think a little more. Okay, so I stop now, sharing as well as discussions. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any clarification or anything to ask from Professor Pandey? This is a time that you can ask. I think he has done a very valuable session using the central equipment company. Either we should go borrowing or not. And also he emphasized ultimately the frict analysis too. And this is very important for this analysis, particularly for teachers who are teaching finance, not only the subject matter, but also how to teach in the class. Those kind of things we get from Professor Pandey. As you know that Professor Pandey is a very genius and very full person in this area. And if you have any questions to ask from him.
Actually, this analysis I will send to you so that if any time you want to teach this case, you can take it as a help, but you can change it also. You should make your own calculations, assumptions, and the analysis the way I did. You can change it also. Again, reading case again and again, because whenever I read this case again and again, some new ideas do come. So you can design your own methodology, but this simply help you that look what you have to cover.
Okay. Then if you have don't any issues or any clarification, I know that this crowd representing mostly all the universities. I would like to know how do you feel about this session done by the Professor Pandey. So I would like to hear your feelings, maybe how do you get this feedback or how do you get this information during, we spend nearly 3 days, but we spend only 2 hours per day, but it's very fruitful, and also hope that you are going to transfer this knowledge for your students. And I would like to hear, maybe I selected a couple of universities. Anyone from Jaffna University, the north part of Sri Lanka?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
yes,
What's your
doctor,
name?
we can hear.
Vijay Kumaran. Yes, Vijay
Yeah, I
Kumaran.
am Vijay Kumar speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, doctor.
Okay.
It's a great opportunity. Thank you very much, Professor, for sharing your insight. We are very much grateful to you, sir, for taking time off from your busy schedule to share your knowledge and skills to all from Sri Lanka. We have been using your books from undergraduate to PhD level, but this is the first opportunity to hear your voice and some insight directly from you. So thank you so much, sir, and also thank you for the organizers, Professor Vasanta Pereira and Dr. Ardwad. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Vijay Kumaran. It's a rare opportunity that you have taken.
Indeed.
Yes, and also I would like to hear from my university, University of Java, Dhanapura. Anyone from University of Java, Dhanapura?
I also feel this is a very significant program, especially from Professor Pandey, because given the current situation where we are compelled to do online teaching, so we have to use different techniques. So he has showed by example how to use these case studies, the way he asks the questions, and even using the technology in doing the case study. I think most of us will be able to use these methods in our case study. We will use most of these methods in our teaching in the future. So I would like to thank you very much, sir. Yeah, it was a really it was a great pleasure.
Thank you very much, Sri Lanka. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll give the last opportunity for Peradeniya University. Anyone from the Peradeniya?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Mohan sir, on behalf of the Faculty of Management of Peradeniya, I would like to thank you for you sharing your knowledge. This was very important for us. We are going to introduce a new subject, the course called Case Study in Finance, and useful us in teaching subjects. And also, sir, as others told, we are using your books, financial management books, for teaching financial and advanced corporate finance subject. So it was an opportunity to meet you face to face. And I would like to thank Professor Vasanta sir, Dr. Ajwat sir for organizing this kind of event. And I would like to see this in the future, because between our universities, we should build up a network like this. And it is very important for us to, as an academics, it will be very important for us to improve our knowledge. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Win. Thank you very much. And we have come to the concluding part. I think we spent nearly 2 hours, very fruitful session. I think this kind of session we need to continue further too. So before wind up the session, Dr. Ajwad is going to make the vote of thanks for this event. Ajwad?
Thank you, Vasanta sir. So yes, first let me convey our deepest appreciation to Professor Pandey for taking your very valuable time to enlighten all of us regarding the case study method in teaching of finance. It was very fruitful. So it will be an understatement, but again, let me say it's very fruitful. And with the invitation of Senior Professor Sampath Amartunga, the Chairman of the University of Grants Commission of Sri Lanka, and Professor Vasanta Pereira, you kindly accepted our invitation. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The knowledge you imparted is enormous and will be very helpful to us as teachers. It is training of trainers. You are training trainers. And also we really got enlightened. We have read your books, but got this lifetime opportunity to meet you in this panel. In our own Sinhala language, Bohom Istuti, and in Tamil language, Rombanandi. Thank you very much, sir. May you be blessed with excellent health and long life. Thank you immensely again.
Thank you in Hindi is called Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad, sir. Dhanyavad, sir. And also, we also convey our greatest thank you to participants for actively taking part. We will contact you again in due course with the participant certificates. Now let us take the teaching of Professor Pandey to our students. So that's the main idea. Pandey, sir, you gave us the knowledge. Now it's our duty to take this to our students. And thank you immensely, Professor Vasanta, sir, for making this seminar a reality, this workshop a reality. You are the brainchild behind this. So thank you very much, Vasanta, sir, and for making this a reality. To bringing you a guru, Professor Pandey, and enlightening all of us. Thank you very much.
So I think you muted.
Pandey, sir, you're muted,
you're
sir.
muted. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks a lot.
So how do you feel about this one? Did you get good feedback from them, or did you really involve with this case study session?
Yeah, it's good actually that participants, they were attentive and they were understanding. That's good. Only thing is that I would like that they should participate actually and speak out.
Yeah.
In case method, there is nothing like right and wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone should come out, and then teacher helps actually. Teacher doesn't say you are wrong. Teacher says, okay, can it be done this way? What do you think this? So that should be the approach actually in teaching. And when students, participants, they speak, then teacher knows what they have in their mind and can help a little more. If there is more discussion, there comes more knowledge actually, because now teachers, those teachers who are there, who read a lot, who observe, of course, I have spent my life, because when I wrote this book, I was 29 or 30 years old. Now, the 12th edition will appear next year, I think by March, April, and of this book. So now it's a long way. I have been on the boards of some 6-7 companies in India, one company in Thailand. So fortunately, I got all that experience, done a lot of consulting with companies. I have been doing these training programs for the companies, actually. So I learn a lot from the participants, their experiences. A teacher who has that kind of knowledge can share more than what is there in the case, provided participants are prepared to ask all kinds of difficult questions to the teachers. If they can draw parallel, and if they can say, no, but in this company, I went through this company's case and it's different, then teacher gives you something different then, all right? But your students, because they don't have experiences most of the time, so they will not be able to, but at least they should answer what you're asking. So I'm saying to encourage them, give them beforehand detailed questions. So they come with all calculations, because in finance, unless you make calculations, you can't discuss. You cannot discuss a case. So pushing the pencil and pen is a must. And knowing little bit, finance people must know good statistics and basic math, not very high, that's it. Little algebra, little something, you see. But statistics is a must. Otherwise, higher level courses, capital asset private, you say covariance and standard deviation and this and that. If somebody doesn't understand, you get stuck. Okay, so that's my advice. And that's it. I enjoyed it. Well, now there is COVID. I have visited Sri Lanka many times.
Yes.
Otherwise also, of course, I had started a course, the AIT's DBA program in Sri Lanka long ago.
Yes, I remember.
Fortunately, it didn't continue. but it continues in Bangkok, Vietnam, and I had introduced it in 6 countries. I was dean that time, and I introduced in 6 countries actually. So in that connection, DBA, I visited many times.
I think
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Vasanta, you may send email addresses of all participants to me.
Sure,
So
sure,
we can be in touch.
Sure, sir. Sure. And thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for giving
very much, sir.
great help for us.
Thank you. Okay, bye. Take
Thank
care.
you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
sir.
All right. Bye. Now I'm ending my mail. Okay. Good.
Okay, sir. Please take